Hi guys, and welcome to my channel, Crafted with Care. In this video, I'm going to be showing most of the steps required in building this Barnboard shelving unit. I had loads of fun building it, and I hope you guys enjoy watching at least half as much as I did building it. First thing I had to do was cut up the barnwood to approximate lengths. I did this by simply screwing a block onto my table to act as a stop in order to not have to remeasure every time, as I was dealing with lengths that ranged between 6 and 8 feet. Now, as my shelves were expected to be 36 inches wide, I set my stop to roughly cut the longer lengths in half, and then moved it closer for the shorter lengths. My next step was to saw the boards up to the correct width on my table saw to ready them for gluing. This wasn't the most enjoyable experience, as barnboard is rarely perfectly straight, and I needed to maintain the weathered look on both faces, as my shelves were visible from both the bottom and the top. In the end, I decided on sawing up 6 of my boards at 5.5 inches and sawed a filler of 3.25 inches. This filler was important, as my 2 outside edges of the shelf were intended to be visible. The good thing about pine is that it's very easy to work with, so I didn't have to worry too much about not being able to make a perfect edge on the joiner due to twisted boards. My next step was to glue the panels together. I noticed there were edges that weren't quite right, so I gave them a couple passes on the joiner, and after I put in a 1/4 inch filler, everything turned out great. After ensuring my lumber's grain wasn't all the same direction, I was ready for the glue up. I did, however, need my assistant's help for this, as the glue would not wait for me to clamp it. While I go get more lumber, enjoy watching my helper apply copious amounts of glue. Once the glue was applied, then came the clamping. To avoid cupping, I placed 2 clamps beneath it and 2 above it. You won't see it here though, because I didn't get that footage. Since we're looking for a rustic finish, the less sanding we do, the better. So we did our best to add clamps to the edges to pull it all together as one piece, as best we could. Oh, and here's that footage. I wonder how that got there. This next step was to, obviously, remove the clamps so as to be able to work on the wood. This panel had been drying for 4 hours, and it was just the perfect consistency to work on. All the glue, which had been compressed between the lumber, was as dry can be, but the excess glue was still gooey enough to be able to remove without too much of a fuss. I got Sean to do this. Once all the glue was removed, I had to provide myself with a straight edge to cut the 36 inches of width. Since I didn't have the luxury of a Festool skill saw, I improvised with a piece of scrap wood. It did not cost me $700. I finally took it to the table saw and cut it at 36 inches and 1/4. This here is proof of how dangerous working with barnwood can be. The different levels of wood kept hooking the table to the table saw. Not fun. I then proceeded to flip it around and get rid of my skill saw cut by trimming it down to 36 inches exactly. We could finally get into sanding. There's really not much to say about sanding. It took about 50% of the total project time just to do the sanding. Enjoy my editing skills as I slowly increase the playback speed up to 500%. I then measured out where the legs should go. I had a hunch that I should put them at 4 inches, so I did. I made myself a weird template for getting them in the right spot, and it actually really did the trick. That box of screws was very hard to open. Thankfully, I cut that strategy out of the final video. It was most important that the legs of the unit stay straight, as they're not going to be screwed into anything that can straighten them out. So I threw some shims under the problem board, and I was good to go. I did, however, forget to clean the pipes before I installed them, so I had to go back later after it was all assembled and scrape it all off. I then proceeded to flip it and toss it onto the floor so I could get the next beams installed. Since I was screwing 1.5" screws into an 1.5" thick board, I had to make sure that the flanges that were parallel were not oriented the same way. That way I didn't screw down into the screw from the flange below it. After blowing the dust off, I brought it into the paint room and applied my first coat of varnish. I just love this varnish. It's ultra durable and very thick, and it's settled so well in all my barnwood projects I've done. After the first coat had dried, I came back and with 220 grit sandpaper, I sanded the heck out of it, blew the varnish dust off, and I applied my second and last coat. All done. Now I just gotta do all that 4 more times. We're in luck though because it's already done. The next and final step involved assembling this monster. I wanted to get it all installed and ready to go before I brought it to the customer's house. I was going to need to disassemble it to fit in the small space allotted for it, but this way it would have some reference holes to screw back in once I had it between the 2 walls. I used that same template to determine where to screw the flanges here, and then inverted a quick grip in order to be able to flex the problem pipes outward if need be. Turns out I did need to. The rest is pretty much clockwork. Apart from having to measure from the floor up to ensure my pipes had the right lengths to them, everything went down without too much trouble, and the result was quite stunning. Thanks for watching. How about you hit that subscribe button so I can see you on the next video.